I get a lot of people walk up to me and ask me, what is Sea Scouts? Because they've never heard of it before. And most of them have heard of Boy Scouts or are Boy Scouts who ask me that. So the comparison that I give them is I tell them that it's like Boy Scouts, where we build youth by giving them adverse situations to work in and build up their character and their leadership. But we do everything from a nautical perspective. And we work with an older age group from 14 or 13 through the 8th grade, all the way through 21. And we're co-ed, like venturing. But we're really just building those skills. They do a lot of camping, while we do a lot of sailing and maintenance. And it really requires somebody who is mature to be able to do that kind of thing. And it really brings that kind of character out of you, because you learn how to lock it up very quickly and how to jump to and do what needs to be done.
I would talk about all the sailing that we do and how much fun it is and how many different opportunities just the sailing, and there's, I mean, windsurfing we've done scuba diving, we've done big boat sailing and small boat sailing, so there's a lot of fun things we do as well as the advancements of the things. I think Scouts provides a good kind of solid base of like I said before, like it's a good base of friends, but it's also a good way to like learn and develop in ways that you probably wouldn't just, you know, without it. Like those types of things you just wouldn't learn on a normal basis.
So in Sea Scouts, everything is youth run, which is a little bit different than how a Boy Scout troop works, where the adults pull a lot of the behind the scenes weight. Sea Scouts, we do all of that ourselves. We keep track of our own finances, file our own tour permits, get everything ready to go on our own. So it's very important that everybody understands what their responsibilities are and make sure that they fulfill them. So we run a lot of our own training exercises where we make sure that everybody understands what the different positions' responsibilities are, so that way they can do that. And we also a lot of times have the people who are previously in the position mentor those people as they go throughout to make sure that they aren't alone. I'm involved in Sea Scouts because I love being on the water. It's always been great for me. I was a Boy Scout before I was a Sea Scout, and I was the kid who had all the water-related merit badges just immediately. It took me a while to get into sailing, and I didn't do very much before I was in Sea Scouts, but that's always been great. I love sailing. It's actually my favorite thing to do now.
It's fun. I mean, I really like sailing, and some of my really good friends are part of the Sea Scouts. I travel around with them and hang out with them outside of Sea Scouts as well, so it's not only a scouting event for me most of the time, it's just hanging out with some friends, and then there's also like the advancement part is just on top of that. I was working on advancement because it just seemed like the natural thing to do. A lot of people don't really like bother with it, which I think if they're enjoying themselves in the program and they're still getting everything out of it, that's fine. But I like to learn the stuff that we were doing, like repairing boats and ornamental rope work and that sort of thing, and it brought on a lot of opportunities, like learning how to scuba dive and that sort of thing. And then once I got to ordinary and went to SEAL, that was obviously a really good opportunity, and that led on to other things like the Eagle, which was really awesome. So I think it was a good learning sort of environment outside of just learning at school.
So I've had opportunities with Sea Scouts. I've gotten to go out with the Coast Guard on their tall sailing ship, Eagle, which they used to train their Coast Guard cadets for the Coast Guard Academy. And that was an amazing experience too. It was really cool to see how so many things are the same and how so many things are different at the same time. And just see it from a different perspective. It's really cool.
The Eagle was a really awesome opportunity. I was really nervous to go on just because it was a Coast Guard sort of event, and I didn't know what it would be like and if there would be like a lot of Coast Guard sort of drilling going on. But I mean, for them it's their vacation during their first summer, so it was a really good opportunity and had a lot of fun. Just doing everything they do on a normal basis, like climbing the rigging to the royals. That was terrifying and awesome at the same time. And also just like working in the galley and scrubbing the boat and the sort of things that wouldn't be fun, but they kind of were in a weird sort of way.
I think the most amazing thing on the Bark Eagle was working aloft. It was really cool to get up into the sails, especially up in the royals, which is the highest suit of sails that they have on Eagle, and just look out across the water. It was also really cool at night being able to look up and see all the stars. And I can remember there was one night where the sea was absolutely flat. It was just glass, and it reflected all the stars, and it almost just looked like we were sailing through space. It was so neat.
And then going to Coke Cup on staff, that was a lot of fun. It's awesome to be able to meet people from all over, just within the U.S. and outside of the U.S., and making friendships there. So that was my favorite part about the Coke Cup.
One of the opportunities that's available in Sea Scouts is SEAL, which originally stood for Sea Explorer Advanced Leadership. And we still keep the acronym, even though we're Sea Scouts now, because, come on, it's a really cool acronym. It's an opportunity that Sea Scouts have to build leadership. We put together a whole bunch of people who have never met each other before on a boat where they have to run everything. The adults don't help unless there's a major safety issue, which of course that never happens. So it's really great for building leadership because we also have a classroom aspect, kind of like BSA's other courses like MYLT and Kodiak, but we also have the aspect of the course where we're running the boat. And one thing that they have to do with all of these other programs is that they have to create situations where you need leadership. They have to use COPE course elements and things like that. But with Sea Scouts and on these boats, we don't need to come up with scenarios where you'll have to use leadership. It's already there. If you don't have the skills, things go wrong, and you have to deal with that too. So it's a very good course for developing leaders. Also, the amount of material that you cover is phenomenal. I still use the skills that I learned in SEAL today in my everyday life outside of Sea Scouts, as well as my life in Sea Scouts. There are a lot of really neat opportunities that we enjoy here locally. We have Rendezvous, which is a competitive meet where we get together and we just compete in Sea Scout skills, whether it be sailing, knot tying, marlin spike work, sail repair, nomenclature, just everything imaginable. And it gets pretty competitive, but at the same time, everybody has fun.
Rendezvous is sort of a test for everyone's skills in a competition form. So we practice for months in advance to do things like bosun's chair and navigation, and it's good because it brings out the competitive side of people, which does a lot to help them, practice those things and learn those things. So that's a lot of fun, and it's also a way to kind of meet other people who aren't in your ship, but they're in your area. So it's a fun competition.
It's a fun kind of competition, not a mean kind of competition. It's very enjoyable. Also, another event that we do is we get together and we do Sea Scout Academy, and it's almost like taking a summer camp and cramming it all into one weekend where we're teaching scouts different skills that pertain to sea scouting, like how to do all the knots, how to sail, how to do man overboard drills, and so on and so forth. Just going through the skills and getting them down pat. Safety is the most important thing. Fun is right behind safety. It's very important too. But things can get very serious very quick on boats. You can go from having tons of fun, or even sleeping in your seat because there's nothing going on, to all of a sudden a piece of hardware fails or something goes wrong, and then everything has to be able to get serious very fast. So it takes a lot of maturity And it builds a lot of maturity to understand that's how it works. So making sure that everybody knows what to do in different situations is very important. And everything in a ship is youth-led, so in a perfect world, if something goes wrong, the adults don't even have to jump in. It's all the youth directing the youth, and it's just an amazing thing to see that kind of maturity come out of somebody who's even as young as 14 or 15 years old. Anything that could possibly happen, we can make a drill out of it.
I think the biggest challenge for me was learning how to speak with people older than myself. I think I've always been able to communicate with people my age and people younger than me and help them, but like speaking with people who are older than myself, like adults or just other youth that are older than me, I think it really challenged me to like be able to communicate with them and not feel kind of too small for them.
I think one of the hardest challenges of Sea Scouts, or that I've encountered in Sea Scouts, or even in scouting in general, is being a step back leader, being able to step back from everything and see everything that's going on and not put your hands in any one spot. Because whenever I see something go awry, the first thing that I want to do is jump in there and fix it myself. Well, sometimes that works, but other times that one problem may have started a chain reaction, and you need to be able to see that other things are happening too while still maintaining control of the vessel. So that requires you to be able to stand back and say, okay, no, I need you to do this, so that way this person can do something different. And that's been something that's difficult for me.
My biggest challenge in getting quartermaster probably was some of the smaller advancement things that, because my ship doesn't do them as often, we don't have the opportunity and we don't know them as well. Whereas in another ship, like doing motorboating is really common for them, so that was an easy thing to do for the advancement. But the project and everything like that, I think it was not necessarily a challenge. I mean, obviously I had to work hard to do that and get it organized, but it was fun. It was not too hard or too much something that made me not want to do it.
Yeah, I belong to Ship 24 out of Houston, Texas, and Ship 24 is the oldest continually chartered unit in the nation. And even before it was chartered as a Sea Scout unit, it started out of a Boy Scout troop as a Sea Scout patrol in 1917, and then was officially chartered in 1923. Ship 24 has always had a rich history of helping out anywhere possible. As a matter of fact, one of the major stories that especially lately has been talked about is Ship 24 during World War II helped with Coast Watch in Galveston Bay, helping fill the shoes of the Coast Guard, who was at that time a division of the Navy helping fight the war. So there's a picture of them on the back of a cabin cruiser with binoculars and pointing out over the bay, and they were watching for vessels in distress, all the recreational boaters and fishermen. And Ship 24 has always had that kind of attitude towards service. If anybody asks Ship 24 to do something, we don't groan about it and say, oh, do you really need us? We say, okay, when and where do you need us? We help out with Boy Scouts a lot, helping them run their camporee in my local council, and we've just always been ready to lend a helping hand.
I think scouting teaches us to be responsible for ourselves and for our environment and for people around us. I think the Scout Oath and Law help us to grow in that sort of way, in our own responsibilities and our maturity and that sort of thing.